Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's data submission working group in relation to FERC Order 881, Managing Transmission Line Ratings Phase 2. My name is Isabella Nicosia, representing ISO Stakeholder Affairs, and I'll be facilitating the web conference today. I'm also joined on the line by Raja Tapatabala, our Director of Operations Engineering Services, as well as some of our other team members for the FERC Order 881 effort here at the ISO. Before we get started, I just did want to make you all aware that the technical white paper that we posted for this effort was posted last Friday, so it's available out on the initiative webpage. You can get to that page by going to kaiso.com. And then if you click on the Stay Informed tab, that'll take you to our list of pages. If you click Policy Initiatives, that'll take you to our main landing page where you can find the FERC Order 881 webpage. And then the white paper should be under the first activity there on that page. And then some other housekeeping reminders. This call is being recorded. The recording is for informational and convenience purposes only, so any related transcription should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. And then if you need technical assistance during the meeting today at any point, you can send a chat to the event producer. Our event producer today is Silas. And then like usual, we will be stopping for questions throughout the call today. So if you connected to audio through the WebEx and use that call me option, you can raise your hand by selecting the raise hand icon, which is located at the bottom of your screen. And then if you dialed into the conference separately outside of WebEx, then you'll need to press #2 and that will enter you into the question queue. And we'll remind you all of these instructions later on when it is time. And then a reminder for everyone to please remember to state your name and affiliation before asking your question or making a comment so that we know who is speaking and which organization you're affiliated with. And then you can also send your questions in the chat to myself directly. Again, my name is Isabella Nicosia, or you can send it to all panelists and we'll make sure to monitor that and read it out to the group. So the agenda for today, I'm going to hand it over to Raja here in just a second, and we'll kick off today's working group with some discussion on the white paper that was posted. And then we have some information for you on track 1, the real-time reliability applications. And then Rajesh is going to share a project timelines update that focuses on the various project timelines by track. And then we will conclude today with the working group schedule and next steps. So with that, I will hand it over to Raja and we'll get started.
Thank you, Isabella. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Raja Tabetobla. As Isabella mentioned, the technical paper is out there. Our main goal was to document our efforts related to the process tools and the technology, at least talk about the technology that we're planning to implement to achieve the compliance with the 881. Next slide, please. Again, reiterate, right, ultimately the main purpose of this 881 is the transmission owners are required to calculate both instantaneous ambient register ratings as well as the look ahead, the 240 hours of look ahead AR. And these ratings needs to be updated at least hourly, right, once an hour. It can be done more frequently, but at least once an hour it needs to be done. As shown in the next slide, so what do we mean by the 240 hours, right? It's hourly granularity submitted each hour, valid for the next 240 hours on a rolling basis. So the graphic next slide will clearly show what do we mean by that, right? So if you look at, for example, if the data is submitted at 7 a.m., right? If the TOP is calculating and sending it right at 7 a.m., it needs to be done for next 240 hours, right? Starting 8 a.m., right? Starting 8 a.m. Now, when you go to the next hour at 8 a.m., it needs to be starting 9 a.m. As I mentioned, rolling 240 hours. So next 240 hours. Same thing with 9 a.m. It will be starting from 10 a.m. So this is documented in the white paper. So hopefully that clarifies what KAISO RC West is expecting from a TOPs when these tools are implemented. Thank you. Next slide, please. Another couple of key things that I wanted to bring from the white paper is, as part of the compliance filing, what we proposed a couple of timelines, right, from this look ahead ratings, how we're going to process these ratings from a day ahead market point of view and real-time market point of view. So next two slides talk about some of the timelines associated with that we have put in the compliance as well as in the white paper as well. The key thing is from a next day steady point of view, from a next day head market point of view, we are expecting that anything that is submitted before 9 a.m., those are the ratings that CAISO will be using the day head market. It's 9 a.m. That gives us some time to process, to validate them and make sure that the right ratings are going into the day head market. So what do we mean by that, right? If, for example, every hour you're getting the 240 hours, right? So at 9 a.m., you're submitting starting 10 a.m. to next 240 hours. So if you look at the picture, the next day data starting the hour 1 to hour 24. So the ratings that are submitted at 9 a.m. the day before will be used in the day ahead market. Next slide, please. And the same thing with the real-time market, the real-time hour-ahead scheduling process, as well as the 15-minute market that is applicable for each hour. So what we proposed is at least 5 hours before the trading hour, those are the ratings that will be utilized. So anything submitted at least 5 hours before the trading hour. So every hour, right, that keeps our next 5 hours before the data that is submitted 5 hours before will be used. So for example, in this example, right, for the hour 14, the data submitted at 9 a.m. will be used for the trading hour 14. I can take questions. These are two key important timelines that we proposed.
All right, looks like we have a hand in the queue, so let's go and unmute.
Hi, Sheridan Mascarenas. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, Raja. Thank you for taking my question. Sheridan Mascarenas, SCE. Just had a quick question on the timelines for the 240 hours, particularly on the the cusps of the day ahead savings time, or daylight savings time rather. Would it be like 241 hours when we have the extra hour, and 239 hours when we have the 1 hour shorter during the time period when we have daylight savings time?
That's a really good question. We can talk internally and with the IT to make sure that what we expect, maybe we'll clarify in the next call, right? I can say something, but I just want to make sure that talk with a couple more people and clarify that what our existing tool will have that.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of clarify, because that would have to align with our resource plan as well, and then also obviously when we transmit data to the ISO, we'd have to kind of align those data points.
Yep. That's a really good question, right? Definitely. We'll circle back internally and from a technology point of view and what is our expectation and clarify on that.
Raja, this is Indu. Can I chime in here?
Go ahead, Indu.
Okay. So Sheridan, the FERC order calls for 10 days look ahead, and we have translated that for hourly data into 240 hours. Having said that, we have flexibility in how we want to implement that. If you want to submit, when you're submitting on an hourly basis, like a rolling 240 hours, then it will definitely roll into the 11th day, even though we are looking for only the 10-day look ahead window. So the solution would be able to support both approaches. If you want to do on a strictly 10-day submission window, or if you want to do a rolling 240-hour window. But on the technology side, we will be able to support both.
Yeah, I think we need to clarify that maybe as an addendum to the next meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Really good question. Thank you.
Silas, do we have any questions on the phone only line?
No, there are no hands raised on the phone only line.
Okay, I'm not seeing any in the chat either, so I think we can move on.
Yeah, so again, as I mentioned, this white paper, it documents the ISO's 3 main project tracks, right? The overall compliance next 2 years, right? How are we going to achieve the compliance, right? What are the expectations from the TO's point of view? And it documents all that steps. The main thing is, along with that 3 main project tracks, in the white paper, we also proposed a technology, in a way you want to call it's an enhancing the existing transmission register application that will be utilized to to interface with the TOPs to receive and process this ambient edge rating. Again, we have Indu Nambiar, who's our senior advisor architecture, so she can definitely take any questions about this technology, if there's any further questions about that. But at the end of the day, this transmission registry application is being used today. Currently it's being used only from a KISO PTO's point of view. None of the RC West TOPs utilize it. They can, but most of the PTOs most of the TOPs does not use it today. It's just KISO PTOs are using this. So what we're proposing is we're going to enhance that application and utilize that application for the 881 purposes, right? And making a lot of changes, technology upgrades, whatnot, to existing system. So a new interface will be built, right, where TOPs can interface with it and retrieve transmission line ratings along with submit. At the same time, web services will be added, so we can programmatically send out and send that information to us, and as well as retrieve those ratings. A couple of things that we're going to build into that: data validations, including reasonable checks. So we've been talking about this, right? It's more where, as we mentioned multiple times, as well as in the white paper, we are not going to calculate those ratings, right? We expect the TOPs perform those calculations and send the rating to us. Note, it's just the direct rating that is applicable for the tower will be sent to us. So what we are planning to do is more of a elementary validation checks. We're gonna, in the sense, right, max and min kind of checks, just data errors, right, not looking into calculation errors. We expect the TOPs perform those calculations. We're gonna just do a reasonable to checks. And a couple of things that we're gonna do, make sure that, right, the emergency ratings are higher than the normal ratings. So if there's 2 emergency ratings, right, we expect make sure that they're in a series rather than, right, make sure that those are the checks that we're gonna do. And if it's failing those sanity checks, we're going to issue errors to the TOPs that are submitting the data. Apart from that, it's a certificate-based authorization. So obviously, TOPs, once we get this implemented, right, TOPs that don't have access will work with us and get those access to the tools and submit the data. Next slide, please. So this is the picture overall, what we're looking this new interface is going to look like. I would like maybe Indu can jump in and help us guide us through this particular slide.
Sure. Thanks, Raja. As Raja mentioned in his previous slide, the approach that we are taking here is to overhaul the existing transmission registry application. Some of you might be familiar with that. Not everybody uses it, as Raja mentioned, but that's the application that we are currently using to get the seasonal ratings from the KISO TOPs. So the proposal here is to overhaul that application. We have a technology stack upgrade also planned for it, but we will be providing a new user interface and the standard API for web services for the TOPs, both KISO and RC West, to come in and submit all their transmission line ratings. But the first step for that would be for the TOPs to retrieve the attributes, the key attributes that we are looking for data validation and data matching within our system from the full network model. So we will be making the full network model attributes available on the transmission registry. That's step number 1 in this diagram, if you can see over here on the right. We'll be loading the network model from our network model management system over to the new enhanced transmission registry application. And so those attributes will be available for the transmission owners to retrieve from TR. And once you have the key elements that are needed for submitting the data from the full network model, you can then use that attribute set to submit the the normal, the 3 emergency rating and the highest emergency rating using that interface. We are planning on providing a data submission specification template also, and we are hoping to work with you on developing that template. We are able to capture all the data elements that we need for our internal processes. So that submission will happen here in step number 4, and the TR application will receive that, do the data validations that Raja was talking about in the previous slide, and then pass it on to both our reliability applications and the market applications. We also are showing here on the left side the transmission line ratings coming in through ICCP from your EMS, from the external EMS into the CAISO EMS system. So those will also be validated for usability checks and then will be used in our reliability studies. So that's this path for the real-time ratings coming in through ICCP. The ambient adjusted ratings coming through the transmission registry will be also flowing into both the reliability application and the market processes. Market will be using, as Raja pointed out, based upon the timeline cutoff we have, we'll be using the latest submitted data based upon those timelines. Once these processes are completed, we also have the data transparency part as part of the FERC order, where we have to provide the data that was used both in the market as well as what came in real time through ICCP. So we'll be merging both those data sets coming in for the real-time ICCP feed from our EMS and also that they're used in the market run and providing a report on CMRI for external consumption. So that is a high-level overview of this proposed solution. There are a lot of design features and elements that we are still working out. But I would like to pause here and ask if anybody has any questions that I can take on the solution.
All right, looks like we have a hand in queue.
Go ahead, Sheridan.
Yeah, this is Sheridan again. Hi, Adu. Just had a quick question from a process standpoint. Obviously, we have the separation of duties between the market function employees and transmission function employees, and that kind of meets at the CAISO when you guys run the market. So from our perspective on the T&D side, we will be communicating the ratings, ambient adjusted ratings, to the CAISO. And after the CAISO runs the market, obviously there will be a market function employee that will have to get those ratings and then look at several things such as settlements and things like that. So kind of had a question about how the CAISO is going to implement these meetings for both market function employees as well as transmission function employees, because obviously we cannot specifically speak to the MFE, our MFE colleagues due to the FERC requirement.
Hey, I can take this question, right? I think this meeting, this data sharing meeting, it's more public meetings, right? Any of those questions we can receive through this meeting, and we can have a discussion surrounding that. So there's a separate meeting that we're actually having with the TOPs directly. Mostly, it's a methodology working group that we are working along the parallel with these meetings. That's most transmission side. How do we achieve consistency across all rating methodologies, whatnot? We are doing that. So that's only invite-only meetings, so that's not public. But these meetings can be used from both market as well as because we are not going to talk about anything specific reliabilities, not in detail about market, how we're going to use whatnot. Does that clarify your question?
I also wanted to add, Raja, there that the ratings that was used in the market runs will be available in the CMRI for post market validation settlements. He mentioned those were the purposes that we are going to use. But yes, the ratings that are used in the market run, in the binding runs, will be available on the CMRI portal for your market site to download and review those data.
I think, Indu, we can. There's one question on the chat. It's like from Daniel Murphy. Are TOPs needing to provide 240 rating analogs for each equipment per rating set via ICCP? Then I think I'm not. Maybe Daniel would be able to unmute your and ask that question, because I'm not understanding this question. What do you mean by rating analogs?
Daniel, to enter the verbal queue, if you just want to click the raise hand icon located at the bottom of your screen, we can unmute you.
Yeah, so I think just to clarify that ICCP ratings that will be used in a real-time reliability applications for both the CAISO reliability applications as well as the RC West reliability applications will be directly received from ICCP. This 240 look-ahead ratings, right? We're still going to use the equipment modeling data, whatnot, from the FNM. So you should be able to, at least you should be able to acquire the name of that equipment, whatnot, from this database and query it and then send that information to us. If that answers your question, Daniel, but
Looks like it did. His hand went down.
okay.
Do we have any other questions? Any questions on the phone only line?
There are no questions on the phone only line right now.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, I think one additional thing that ultimately this picture has clarification. I think that it mentions, right? We're planning to use any seasonal ratings updates as well as through this process, as well as any emergency rating changes too, right? Right now, currently, right, CAISO RC West has a emergency rating change process through our outage management system. And ultimately, we plan to move that to this process, to this tool. So hopefully, when we transition everything, right, most of the ratings are being processed through this new TR interface. The only thing that's coming in rating is real-time ratings through ICCP. At least that's our goal. So we'll work with the TOPs and have a transition plan and move everything into this once this tool is ready.
Yeah, and thank you, Raja, for mentioning that. Yes, the idea behind this proposal is to make TR the single interface for all, transmission line ratings, not considering ICCP, just the look-ahead transmission line ratings. The TR will be the single interface for all those changes. Any changes, the workaround that we have in OMS, we will discontinue doing that. All changes will have to come through this one single interface.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely communicate. I think, when these tools are ready, there's going to be timelines associated with the testing process, testing, and make sure that everybody is ready before we get there. So continue to hear from us, right, with that direction. If there's no further questions, I think we can move on to the next slide. So overall, right, again, I'm reiterating this. There's 3 tracks that we have been talking about, and we documented that in the white paper as well. The track 1 is the real-time reliability applications. This track, ultimately, as I mentioned, this data from this track will be acquired through ICCP, and that data will be used by both CAISO as well as the RC West in the reliability applications, right? No, the data is not going to the markets. This track 1 is fully implemented. Only to the real-time applications, the EMS as well as our RTCA process as well as the VSA process. Those are the only tools, reliability tools, that will use this real-time ratings. Again, we don't expect every TOP ready by this time, right? Any TOPs that are ready to provide this real-time ambient interest rating through ICCP, once our tools are ready, they can do that. At this point, we're expecting all the tools ready by end of this quarter. And then after that, we'll definitely set up some timelines for the TOs that are ready to do that, set up some time sessions with them, develop timeline testing, whatnot, so that they can actually send it and we're able to receive it and then use the data in the real time. So that's our plan. So we expect them to be done somewhere in Q1 2024, and we'll definitely share more information once our tools are ready. This is track 1. Track 2, next slide, please. Track 2, this is mainly developing our look-ahead application, as Indu mentioned, right? The technology, the transmission register tool interface. We plan to utilize that to receive all our look-ahead data. And what we plan to do is, right, once our tool, at least our requirements are fully done, the technology, I think it's in the final stages of being finalized at this point. We plan to share the formats and everything before we actually implement anything with this look-ahead tool. We're going to share what is the format that we want to receive, right? And those are the things good things that then you guys can utilize and be ready on your side. So that's our plan before we implement anything. Next slide, please. And track 3 will cover all the market applications and look-ahead applications. So it's wide variety of both the day-ahead market as well as real-time market from a CAISO market point of view and CAISO EAM market participants point of view. Then RCWest point of view, all the look-ahead applications, the day-ahead who runs the RCWest does, as well as the short-term outage studies that we perform. We use these hourly ratings too. We plan to use those hourly ratings in those tools as well. So a lot of tools need to be modified to be compliant with 881. So we plan to do all those things under the track 3 and complete everything by July 2025. That's the compliance deadline. Again, I want to reiterate this. We'll include training and testing sessions, right? Make sure that everybody's ready before we actually fully implement these things. Next slide, please. Yeah, Rajesh will cover this project timelines from a project manager point of view. Right, Rajesh?
Hi, thank you, Raja. Good afternoon. This is the concise summary of actually what Raja did share actually in the last 3 slides. Actually, in the track 1, we real-time reliability applications as we are doing the refinement of our business requirement, which is almost there, and then we estimated target capability to be ready by December 2023 Q4 this year. And as I stated earlier, the training and testing after 2 development, that is Q1 2024. Track 2, operational EMS model data and applications. It's mid-June, complete our business requirements. We are, since RPG definition has already been done, so we are defining our requirements. So we're targeting actually to just close our planning phase by Q2 2023 and estimated target capability to be ready in 2024. So that's again Q4 2024, training and testing after 2 development. Track 3, market applications and look ahead applications, which is complete our business requirement by Q3 of 2023, and the planning phase actually to be just done by Q3. So that's the estimated target date. The capability will be ready in Q2 2025. So I will pause here and ask for the questions if anyone has any questions.
So again, to ask a question, you can raise your hand by selecting the raise hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. And if you dialed into the conference separately and are just on the phone, then you can enter the queue by pressing #2. Silas, do we have any questions?
None on the phone only line.
Okay. I'm not seeing any in the chat, so I will move on to our next steps. So we do have the next data submission working group scheduled for May 1st, but we will likely push that meeting out since it's only in a couple weeks. So we'll give it just a bit longer so we can review the comments that we receive on the white paper. And we will announce a updated date through the ISO's daily briefing in the next coming weeks. And then our next quarterly initiative update is scheduled for May 11th. And then all the working group materials are posted prior to each meeting on the initiative webpage. I'm going to give instructions on how to get to that page at the beginning of this call. And it's also linked here on this slide. And then as far as comments go, again, the deadline is April 27th. So we will be posting a template on the initiative webpage by the end of this week for you to utilize. That'll stay open through the 27th, and you can access it anytime between tomorrow and the 27th. And then you can also submit any additional comments or questions related to the implementation of FERC Order 881 to be considered in a future working group to ISO Stakeholder Affairs at CAISO.com, and that inbox is linked here on this slide as well. So before we conclude, are there any other questions?
Yeah, Isabella, only one thing from me again. We'd like to see comments as much as possible, as many people as possible, because that will help us, right? If we are missing anything, because we are all in this together. All the TOPs need to make changes on their side, and we need to make changes on our side, and we're all together in this. So we're hoping we get as many comments as possible.
Thanks, Raja. All right, Silas, any questions on the phone only line? I'm not seeing any hands raised or any questions in the chat.
There are also no hands raised on the phone only line.
Okay. All right, then that concludes today's data submission working group. Thank you all again for joining this afternoon, and we look forward to your comments.